And there's a lot of them. There's more of them than when I first came up with the Braves in the major leagues. And there's a lot of guys, and that's why I like to do the video. I do that every day or before the series that we play, especially if we got a guy that I haven't seen before, because we have every play of every game that's been played over the year.
And I'd like to transition from this past season to a season that happened almost 40 years ago. I did my research, actually, and I read the Sports Illustrated article. It was about the Macon Ironmen of 1971, the high school team. You were part of that team.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a great article, too.
Yeah, I read it.
Chris
It was
Ballard,
really good.
I thought did a wonderful job with that article. Actually, we were in Chicago playing the White Sox when the article came out, or the magazine came out, and
nice.
I actually stole one from the clubhouse because it wasn't on the shelves yet. And Lynn Sweet and his wife were there for the game, and I took it to him, and it was cool. Made me feel good. It was a proud moment in my life. Great group of guys, great story. It's kind of like a modern, Hoosiers type thing.
Yeah, that's what you guys get compared to, really.
It was really cool, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Do you guys still keep in touch with? Do you still keep in touch with some of your old teammates?
Yeah, oh yeah. I talked to a lot of the guys. We've had a few of them that have passed since we graduated. But I see a lot of the guys in Chicago and St. Louis when we go into town to play, which is kind of cool for me that when we get that close, that a lot of guys will come out to the game and. So I see and hear from a lot of those guys.
And Brian, I'd like to ask you, speaking of Macon, growing up in that small of a town, it's only a town of 1,200. Did you ever picture yourself in a million years coaching in the major leagues?
No, Evan, I didn't even probably picture myself playing college baseball, quite honestly. I mean, just kind of all happened. Didn't picture, just, young kid growing up, really loved what he was doing, worked hard at what he was doing, and, always wanted to be, but never was like, if it didn't happen, I wasn't going to be a failure or anything like that, you know. I've been very blessed and fortunate in my career and life, and been around a lot of good people. A lot of my coaches in high school, college, a lot of people within the Braves organization that believed in me. They gave me this opportunity, and I'm very grateful for that.
And speaking of coaches, I mean, I have to ask this. I mean, Bobby Cox, one of the greatest, fieriest managers of all time. I mean, he got ejected over 160 times. What was it like coaching under him? I'm curious.
It is an honor. I mean, you know what?
He's a legend.
Actually, I was just with him this past weekend. We were at the George Strait concert here in Atlanta.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He had
Nice.
his blue jeans on, just had a great time. It was wonderful. He's the most. I tell people, those years that I was with him as his third base coach, when we'd go out, it's like being with a rock star. I mean, the guy. Everybody in the world knows this guy, and he's the most gracious, honest, caring person that I've ever been around. I mean, he is just a wonderful, wonderful man. He's probably the greatest manager that's ever been in a baseball uniform, but he's even a better person, and it's really fun to be around him. I love being around him, and it's just I cherish, and I'm very blessed to have been there in his last 5 years, 4 years, whatever I was there.
Yeah, I remember I was watching a Cubs game. It was his last game at Wrigley Field, and the Wrigley crowd, they cheered them because they know.
God, everybody did.
They know
that year he left. I mean, because they all appreciate the fact of what he did, what he does, what he did.
Right.
He's such a genuine, caring, good person, and he was very respectful of the game that he was involved with, and. It's just everybody knew that. I mean, they appreciated Bobby for what he was and what he brought to the game of baseball. And I'm not sure there'll ever be another one like him.
Yeah,
he's a molder. I mean, they broke that mold when he was done, and it'll be hard to replicate what he brought to the game and the passion and love that he has for the game of baseball.
Yeah, he definitely was, like you said, probably the greatest head coach to ever manage the in the major leagues.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt in my mind. And being there with him on a daily basis, sitting there in the dugout I was just like, there'd be times I just pinch myself. I'm like, I can't believe I'm sitting here with him, and or I'd go out there and he'd give me signs or whatever, and I'd miss a sign and he'd come in, or I'd go into the dugout and I'd be ready for him to chew me out or something. He's like, don't worry about it. It's like, we'll be okay. It's not going to be a big deal. And so I love the guy. I mean, he's a good friend. I feel blessed to have been with him for the time that I had.
Well, you definitely weren't such a bad manager yourself in the minor leagues. You won 2 titles or league championships. I remember the one in Myrtle Beach. I think did I come and see you guys in Myrtle Beach?
Well, you might have. I mean, you've been a lot of places. Everywhere I go, Evan, you show up. So
well, I just like to see you guys so much.
I know. Yeah, well, I love it when you come. Yeah, it's fun.
So you're a third base coach now, but and you used to be a manager in the minor leagues for a very long time. What's the biggest difference, that you've seen from coaching in the minor leagues to coaching in the major leagues?
Well, when you're in the minor leagues, there's a lot more things off the field, as far as paying bills and how do you conduct yourself and how you look when you go into a restaurant and just growing up into a professional. When you get to the major leagues, I mean, all that should be already established by the minor league managers and people that have those kids. And then it's more about the game. It's just about when you get to the ballpark. When you're a minor league manager, you're 24/7 on with those kids. I mean, and anything that goes wrong where they don't pay their bills or whatever, and how they dress and how they conduct themselves and all, you're more responsible for that. And in the major leagues, it's kind of like all about the game and what's going on the field. And it's kind of a more inclusive job description than being in the major leagues. In the major leagues, it's stressful because I'm responsible for decisions that I make and have to be held accountable, but the overall picture is probably greater in the minor leagues.
And I'm going to stick to the topic of managers. This was Freddie Gonzalez's first year as a manager. How would you assess his performance this past year?
I thought Freddie did a great job. I thought he did a really good job. That wasn't an easy task to come in and replace a legend and a Hall of Famer. And I thought Freddie did an unbelievable job. And probably because he and Bobby are such good friends, made it easier for him. It wasn't like he was an outsider coming in. Bobby has the utmost respect for Freddie. Probably if you asked Bobby, that would have been his choice to replace him. And Freddie's a good man. I mean, he does a great job. I think he did an unbelievable job with our pitching staff. And that's kind of where I think you separate the managers. He's a player's manager. The door's always open. He's willing, he'll let him know what's going on. I think he's a lot like Bobby in how he handles players, media, the whole thing. So Freddie's a good guy, great man, and I think probably he did as good or better a job as anybody they could have had to come in there in that situation.
And Brian, I'd like to ask you, when you were in the minor leagues, you first got drafted by the Cubs, but you got injured, correct?
Right.
And you had to pull out. Yeah. And then you played one more year at New Orleans, correct?
Exactly. University of New Orleans.
Yeah. Yep. And then you signed with the Braves as a free agent.
Yeah. Then I got drafted when I didn't play. Then I played and I didn't get drafted, so I signed with as a free agent. Go figure.
Yeah, and my question was, when you were in the minor leagues, when you were playing, did you ever face, when you were up at the plate, did you ever face any young pitchers at that time that came up into the big leagues and really made a big name for themselves?
Future stars.
Oh God, you know what? Yeah, there were. I remember guy with the White Sox. Greg Dobson, I think is his name.
Yeah.
I remember facing his fastball, and it felt like it looked like it changed gears about halfway there. You know, Bryn Smith was with the Expo. Now, you know, I don't know that I face